Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Scout Report. This is where we look at our next opposition, and the first one up for the new season, Stoke City. We have Michael from Every Step Along the Way podcast with us to talk about Stoke. How are you doing, Michael?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Very, very good. Very excited for football. It feels like a long time since the season finished. Obviously, it is. Excited for the new season, I assume?
Yeah, very. You know what, though? I don't know if it's an age thing, but I think this doesn't feel that long of a close season to me. I mean, Our podcast, we've been doing stuff all the way through the summer, so I guess just feels like a continuation, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I've been. But I don't know the same with other clubs. I've really enjoyed the break, maybe because we had a successful season. For us was success, so I've enjoyed not having to worry about 3 points on a Saturday afternoon for a few months. But yeah, let's talk about your last Stoke season. Last season, first of all, from the outside, it just seemed a little bit dull. Maybe it was just a bit of a nothing season. You were never in any trouble relegation, and you were never ever trouble in the top six. Just did a bit middle of nothing, really.
I must admit, Stoke fans felt there was a little bit of trouble for relegation at one point. It's weird because we've always had one manager, and we'd have them for 10 years. Obviously Mark Hughes and Tony Pulis and all the names that you've all heard of before. But unfortunately, since we got relegated, there's been a bit of a turnover. And the problem with that, and one thing which is probably the reason we ended up being 17th, is because we kept switching managers who all had pretty much free reign to go and do what they wanted. All of a sudden, we've ended up with Alex Neil, who has now got or had 3 or 4 different managers' players. And he came in at a time, a week before the end of the window, with no money and no time to do anything. So last season was very much, let's just get to the end of it without getting relegated, and we'll start again this year. That was pretty much what last season was all about. It was disappointing still.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I can imagine so. Let's talk about Alex Neil briefly. He's not the most popular man with Rotherham fans. For a few comments after we beat you at your place 1-0, understandable comments, but still, I've seen his comments in the week about teams like, I didn't say teams like Rotherham this time, thankfully. But
well, you haven't seen what he said about you in the pub then, I guess. That's fine.
Well, that's what I mean, the hoofball sort of teams. I'll be honest, I'm outside, I like Alex Neil. I think he's a good championship manager. I thought it was a really good appointment for you guys. He just seems like a really steady kind of manager. Hans time made us back a little bit at times because of when he came in, but he seems like a good manager. I like him.
Yeah, you see what I think it's not just him. I think the whole club as a collective has actually pulled people back together again. But I think you're right. I mean, Alex Neil, I've used him twice already now. But Tony Pulis, if you think back to him, he was very straight talking. He wouldn't take crap from anybody. He had his own ideas, and this is what he was going to do. Didn't matter what anyone else had to say. And that is exactly what Alex Neil is all about. I refer to the pub. Last week he turned up at a pub with the I think one of our COO and one of the guys from the background, like a fan experience, I think it was. So he basically turned up in a pub, spoke to fans, had a beer with the fans. Like, that doesn't happen in modern day football. But he sat there, took questions from the fans, and just pulled everybody together. And Stoke fans are very that's what the right term is. That just gets you on the fans' side straight away, connecting with the people, because you know what it's like. I mean, managers these days, they keep themselves well away, and then you see them on a Saturday, and that's pretty much it.
Absolutely. I like it. Yeah, I think he could take next level. I loved it. What he did at Sunderland League One was brilliant. I'm surprised he left, but he saw a project, didn't he? And you can't. I know he gets still got to stick with Sunderland for that. And just, again, understandably, I suppose.
But a project and quadrupled his wages always helps, doesn't it?
That does help, yeah. You talked a minute ago about when he came in, he had 3 or 4 different managers, players. How has this summer gone? I've looked and you've done a bit of business, quite a bit of business. I assume it must feel like he's getting his own players in, I suppose.
Oh, God, yeah. So I think for the first period of it, we were signing nobody. And Stoke fans were getting very nervous, blaming the club. It's typical fans in general, I think. But, we'd finished last season with hardly any players because we had 7 loan players who have gone back to their clubs. We then had a load of players that were on the fringes whose contracts ran out. We had some first-team players that contracts ran out. So I'm trying to think now, I swear it was about 9 players actually contracted to the club at the end of last season. I might have that number slightly off, but it won't be far off. So we had that, and it was a massive rebuild job. So you're right, we started very slowly, and then we've signed 10 players within 2 weeks, pretty much. And I mean, thinking back to all the reactions, there's not been any complaints about any one of them, which is unusual for football fans. And you look at the team, and we as a club have historically been all for British and Irish and Scottish players. The thought of going abroad since we got relegated was non-existent. We didn't go and sign foreign players. But now we've brought in a Brazilian striker, got 2 Portuguese wingers. We've got more coming in. There's Bayram from Galatasaray has been rumoured, things like that. So, but that's down to somebody called Jared. I always forget his surname, but he's basically head of recruitment now, come in from Reading. And within 2 weeks, we're signing foreign players. And, Vidigal and Chico, as I like to call him, from Wolves, they're quite exciting players from what we've seen.
Yeah, I heard a bit of Alex Neil in the pub where we sort of talking. You need a good mix. You need that British and Irish core, which I mentioned, but you also need that sort of foreign flair, the Portuguese and Brazilian stuff, and especially in the Championship because of how different and how many different types of teams you do need those different types of ways to win football games.
Which one thing you could say about Stoke is we've been very one-dimensional, especially for the last 2 or 3 seasons, which is why we've gone nowhere. Yeah. The times take every time we play you, for example, right? You have 1 shot on target, we have 25, and we lose. That is basically because you guys will generally come back, sit back, soak up all the pressure. You'll go up there, get your 1 chance. Our defence was quite weak and probably caught on the hop because they hadn't had to defend all match. And you go and take it, and you sit back again. We can't break teams down who sit back against us. And the longer balls, and not just you guys, and there's many clubs that do it, but the longer ball, the more in-your-face football, we just couldn't cope with it. And time will tell whether we can still cope with it. I don't know. But, we were very one-dimensional ourselves.
That 1-0 at your place last season was particularly disgusting.
Was it like 25 shots, I think it was, or 29 shots?
It was crazy. There was something like that. I don't. That was the most undeserving 3 points I've ever seen us have. I still can't believe we done that. They were insane.
I'm not complaining, by the way. I don't know if your style of play is going to change at all, but again, Christ, Stoke under Pulis, right? How direct were we? We're ones to talk. I don't care how a team plays. If you get your results, you get your results. That's all that matters.
Exactly. You might see a change this week. Matt Taylor's come in, and at the time Matt was very early. I think it was Matt Taylor's first win or second win. We pre-season looks like we have changed a bit. There's a bit more trying to look after the ball a little bit.
Okay.
We've got Hugo, so I think at times we will still go long, but it certainly won't be as much as it was. But we know we can't match most teams' quality, so it will be a little bit of sitting in at times, I think. I'm trying 10 signings. Feels like a positive. Just looking at Twitter and a few other bits, feels like positivity. I assume 17 is really, really not the aim this season.
No, it's definitely not. In terms of what to expect from this year, the honest answer is we haven't got a clue. It's going to go one of 2 ways for me. Either, we've signed 10. General expectations, we're going to sign about 15 in total, which is a big overhaul. Now, it's not just what we've done on the pitch, it's what we've done off the pitch. We've got new goalkeeper coaches, new first team coaches, the new head of recruitment. We've stripped everything. The new club shop ticket manager, new media team. Honestly, it's been a complete gutting of the club. So while it's easy for me to go, great, love these signings, we could be really good. At the same time, I think to change everything off the pitch, change everything on the pitch, and expect a really successful season, my gut's telling me that that's probably not going to happen. I think anything above 10th would be a good season for us, and then we go again next year. That's taking my red and white tinted glasses off. Obviously, I'm going to say automatic promotion with them on, but we both know that's not going to happen.
Does it feel like these changes were needed? Because it felt like Stoke were just in the middle of nowhere since relegation of a few years ago. It just felt like you've been sleepwalking into nothing. I assume these changes, although it may take a season or 2 to get right, it feels like they are absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I think as a club, we just fell into a bit of a rut. different managers, different approaches, different tactics or lack of tactics as a club. It was, and again, I think some of this will be time to tell whether it actually has changed really. But like I said, the whole recruitment side, only signing English, Irish, Scottish, like that straight away has changed for a start. Because one thing we've been, criticising a lot of, there's only so many quality players of that ilk that you can bring into a club that's going to make you successful. I don't think any team that gets promoted is all British, Irish, Scottish players. Like there's a mix, there's a bit of difference, and that's one of the main things I'm intrigued to see how it pans out. It's like at the same time though, like you sign players from Portugal or wherever, there's absolutely no guarantees that they're going to settle in. So it's a calculated risk, but there's a lot changed, to be honest with you, Matt, and we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I was pre-season. I saw there was the sort of a standout 3-0 loss to Derby, which sticks out a little bit. Was it just one of those? Was it a testimonial game as well for somebody?
It was a bit of a testimonial. That's before we really signed any players. That one. I was in Disneyland Paris at that time, so I can happily say that I didn't really watch that very much. So I had better places to be on that one. I saw us against Burton. We controlled it. We were 1-1-0 against Burton. Should have been 7 or 8, to be honest. Okay. We really controlled that game. And then Everton last night. They've somehow beat us with their one shot, pretty much one decent shot that they had. I know this isn't an Everton podcast, but they're in trouble. If that's their full strength squad and they're playing against us and we manage to dominate them for 90 minutes pretty much, they're in trouble. So what that says about us versus what it says about them, I aren't sure, but they did not deserve to win that game.
Interesting. How do you think, we talked about before we start recording that we don't know what's going to happen, but how do you guess you're going to sort of start on Saturday? Do you have any idea of sort of formation and setup, or is it just wait and see?
Yeah, so Alex Neil's wanted to play a 4-3-3 for a while. Again, the players that he inherited, they were not set up for that. They were set up for wing back, wing play. So 4-3-3, absolutely expect that. He will be interesting to see which players start up front, because Tyrese Campbell's and probably, I'd say Brown are probably the two players you would have seen last season. Tyrese will definitely start. Okay. There's a risk, Jacob Brown won't start, which means that Chiquito or Vidigal could potentially be either side. It's a real wait and see for that one. But other than the formation, expect it to be the case that it'll be constant pressure. That's generally his style. So if you do, that's insulting. I'm not saying if you do get the ball, but if you get possession, fully expect that they will be on you straight away. Like they won't give you time to rest. He is very high pressure, and that goes for any club that we face. It's going to be like that.
Interesting. Yeah,
I think ideally he'd want you to come at us, because if you can bring the game to us, that'll open up spaces, and then the pace that we've got. Honestly, Vidigal and Chiquito are incredily quick, and then you've got Tyrese Campbell as well, who's got plenty of pace. You've seen him before. We've got Johnson, who we got from Preston as well. He seems to have a bit about him. So I think the best scenario might actually be let you have the ball and then let's counter attack, because we did really well when we counter attacked last season. That was the way that we got through people.
It could be an interesting game. It could be a poor game if we sit in and you want us to come out. It could be a game. But you never know. Let's go prediction. What's your prediction? Toughest game at season to predict first game, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, especially with these players. I mean, half of them have only had 1 or 2 training sessions as well, all these players, so they're not embedded. Personally, I'm going to go 1-0 to Stoke, because despite all this potential talent, like I said, none of them have really had a proper time together yet. So we aren't going to be well-oiled, not going to be well-drilled. You probably will play us at the best possible time, I think, rather than later on in the season when they have settled in. So a very attacking 1-0, I reckon we will do what Everton did to us and score late on to sneak the win.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. So thank you everybody who was watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe on YouTube. And Michael, just let everybody know if they want to get the Stoke perspective, where can they find your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So available everywhere as normal: Spotify, Apple, Google, anywhere you want it. Just search for Every Step Along the Way and up it'll come.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you for listening, watching.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you.
It's a Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Fodringer, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box, the Dauphin, he can hit them, and he does. The Dauphin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship